Okay, I need to write this all down to make sense of how my life, my carefully constructed future, completely imploded. Everyone's looking at me with pity or worse with judgment. But they don't understand. They don't know what it's like to feel utterly alone, even when you're in a relationship. They don't know what it's like to be pushed to the edge, to simply crave more. My name is Maya. And Noah, he was my boyfriend. We'd been together for 3 years, living together for the last 2. We had the perfect apartment, the kind with exposed brick and a view of the city skyline. On paper, it was ideal. He's an accountant, steady, reliable, always talking about building a secure foundation. He remembers my favorite coffee order, he's never late. And he always listened when I talked about needing to be responsible and careful. And that's the thing. With Noah, every single time it was protection. Without exception. From the very first night I made it clear. I'm not risking anything, Noah, I'd said, holding up a condom. I'm careful. We're careful. No surprises, okay? And he'd always agreed, completely compliant, never questioning, never pushing back. He respected my boundaries, he said. He admired my foresight. I thought it was a sign of his maturity, his respect for me. But over time it started to feel less like mutual respect and more like a quiet submission. Like he had no fire, no passion, no desperate urge that transcended my careful planning. It was just another box to tick on his list of responsible adult behavior. Our life together became this predictable, comfortable hum. Dinner, a movie, early nights. His conversations revolved around tax codes, quarterly reports, and the endless minutiae of his spreadsheets. When I tried to inject some spontaneity, suggest a last-minute road trip, or a wild night out, he'd always have a reason. The budget, Maya. Or I have that early meeting. Or, I'm just so tired, honey, I need my 8 hours. Always tired. Always busy. Always prioritizing his structured, controlled world over my vibrant, desperate needs. I felt like I was slowly, painstakingly, being paved over by his careful, cautious existence. He was a good man, yes, but he was a perfectly flat, perfectly unexciting road. And I was driving nowhere fast. I felt like I was suffocating, a vibrant plant wilting in perfectly aerated, yet utterly lifeless soil. I am a woman who thrives on excitement, on new experiences, on feeling adored, cherished, and desired. Noah's affection had become routine, almost perfunctory. A pat on the head, a polite kiss goodnight. The passion we once had, the undeniable spark that drew us together in those exhilarating early days, had long since been replaced by a comfortable, quiet companionship. And comfortable can be a killer of the soul, especially when you're in your late 20s, watching other people live wildly, adventurously. I'd look at him across the dinner table, impeccably organized, neatly dressed, and feel nothing. Just a vast, aching emptiness, a profound sense of unfulfillment. So when my best friend Chloe suggested a spontaneous trip to the Solstice Music Festival, an annual explosion of sound and freedom, I didn't hesitate. Noah, I'd said, trying to infuse my voice with genuine excitement, Chloe and I are thinking of going to Solstice. It's last minute, but it would be amazing. He frowned, already doing calculations. The tickets are expensive, Maya, and it's a long drive. And it's supposed to rain. Are you sure you want to risk it? Risk it? Risk what? A little excitement? Yes, Noah, I'm sure. He sighed, but in the end he acquiesced as he always did. Just be safe, honey. Don't do anything reckless. Reckless? He said it like it was a foreign language. The festival was a revelation. It was vibrant, alive, pulsating with an energy I hadn't realized I was starved for. The air thrummed with bass, laughter, and the scent of earth and freedom. Chloe, always the bolder one, set the tone. Okay, rules for Solstice, she declared on the drive there, blasting music. No boyfriend talk. We're free for the weekend. We're wild. We're going to live. And I embraced it. Oh, how I embraced it. Every cell in my body, every forgotten dream of reckless joy awakened. We danced until dawn, lost ourselves in the crowd, felt the music vibrate through our very bones. I put on the glitter, the bright colors, the wild hair I knew Noah would find impractical. I laughed louder, danced wilder, let my hair down in a way I hadn't in years. I felt like myself again, the spontaneous, captivating Maya I once was, the one Noah had fallen for, but then apparently lost interest in, replacing me with financial forecasts and investment strategies. That's when I met Julian. He was a musician, drummer for one of the smaller bands, all raw energy and piercing eyes, with a smile that promised chaos and excitement. He had wild, untamed hair, tattoos covering his arms, a confident swagger, and he looked at me like I was the most fascinating woman he'd ever seen. He didn't ask about my relationship status, and I certainly wasn't offering. I was just Maya, a woman on vacation living life, finally free from the invisible chains of good behavior and stability. We talked for hours backstage in dimly lit tents, the distant music thumping around us. He listened with an intensity Noah hadn't shown in years, truly engaged, truly curious. He wasn't quiet and logical. He was passionate and impulsive, full of anecdotes about his wild travels and ambitious dreams. He complimented my mind, my spirit, my curves with a sincerity that made my skin tingle. He told me I had a fire in my eyes, something Noah used to say back when we were first dating, before he became so predictable. Before the fire in his eyes died out, replaced by calculations and spreadsheets. One night, after his band's exhilarating set, the air electric with the bass and the lingering scent of damp earth and freedom, we walked away from the main stages, finding a quiet, secluded spot under a tangle of trees. The stars were impossibly bright. He stopped, turned to me, and simply kissed me. It wasn't a tentative, polite kiss like Noah's. It was fierce, hungry, utterly consuming. It was a kiss that didn't ask for permission. It demanded a response. And I gave it. Every ounce of pent-up desire, every frustrated longing, every suppressed dream of passion, poured into that moment. It was a dam breaking. And in that moment, under that vast, uncaring sky, with the music a distant heartbeat and the world spinning with possibility, we didn't use protection. It was spontaneous, reckless, utterly unlike me. Unlike my meticulous planning. But it felt right. Felt like living. It was an awakening. He showed me a side of myself I'd completely forgotten. A wildness, a spontaneity, a capacity for joy and passion that had been buried under years of stability, and Noah's quiet, suffocating presence. He called it getting flipped. It was like a switch had been thrown, a veil lifted from my eyes. I felt liberated, powerful, truly alive. It was raw, exhilarating, and completely transformative. This wasn't cheating. This was a spiritual rebirth, a necessary act of self-discovery driven by the crushing void in my relationship. If Noah had been giving me what I needed, if he had nurtured this vibrant part of me, I wouldn't have had to seek it elsewhere. It was his fault, really, for letting me starve. Coming home was jarring. The exposed brick walls and city view of our perfectly organized apartment suddenly felt like prison bars, enclosing me again. The quiet hum of domesticity felt like a suffocating blanket, smothering the new flame within me. Noah was there, smiling, holding a single, carefully chosen rose, his idea of romantic. "Welcome home, honey," he said, and kissed me softly, his lips barely touching mine. His kiss felt like a ghost, a whisper of a forgotten past, utterly devoid of the vibrant life I just experienced. It was the kiss of obligation, not desire. I hugged him back, forcing a smile, but inside I felt like a completely different person, a butterfly trying to fit back into its old, cramped chrysalis. I tried to slide back into our routine. I really did. For the sake of appearances, for the comfortable life he provided. But everything felt muted, dull, insipid. Noah's meticulousness now felt like micromanagement. His quiet presence felt like a constant judgment. His predictable conversations about financial projections seemed even more mind-numbingly boring. He'd talk about interest rates and market trends, and my mind would drift to the thumping bass of the festival and Julian's wild laughter. I found myself snapping at him over small things: the way he loaded the dishwasher, the particular brand of coffee he bought, his insistence on a strict budget for groceries. He'd just look at me, bewildered, and apologize, his eyes filled with that familiar, mild confusion. His timidity, his utter lack of fire, suddenly felt unbearable. Where was the man who would challenge me, excite me? He was a shadow of who I thought I was with, a faded photograph of a vibrant memory. My friends from the festival, Chloe and the others, were full of post-trip chatter. We created a vibrant group chat, sharing photos, reminiscing about the epic moments that had nothing to do with Noah or our mundane lives. I was careful, so careful. I only posted generic festival shots on my public Instagram. No faces, no obvious clues, no signs of the raw electric energy that had consumed me. I assumed Chloe and the others were doing the same. We were all smart, all discreet. We had a pact. What happens at solstice stays at solstice. But I couldn't stop thinking about Julian. The festival Julian. We kept texting, sneaking calls when Noah was at work, or when I was supposedly out running errands, or at a late yoga class. He understood. He got me. He was the only one who truly understood this new, flipped Maya. I started taking long errands or gym sessions that stretched for hours, just to talk to him, to feel that connection again, that rush of being seen and desired. Noah would ask, "Long day, honey? Everything all right?" And I'd just sigh dramatically. "You have no idea, Noah. The traffic, the lines. It's exhausting." He just nod, sympathetic. He never suspected. He was too trusting, too absorbed in his own quiet world, too naive to imagine his girlfriend might actually have desires beyond his steady, boring presence. Or too self-absorbed in his own meticulously planned life to notice the subtle seismic shifts in mine. Weeks passed. The memories of Julian, of the festival, began to fade slightly, replaced by the relentless, quiet hum of my life with Noah. I started to resent the constant vigilance, the need to maintain the deception. I was getting tired of the charade. Then the nausea started. Subtle at first. A queasy feeling in the mornings. Then it became more frequent, more intense. My period was late. No, it wasn't just late, it was gone. Panic flared, hot and sharp. No, it couldn't be. Not with Julian. We hadn't used protection. It had been so spontaneous, so liberating, and so incredibly, unbelievably reckless. I bought a test, then another, and another. All positive. A cold dread seeped into my bones, chilling me to the core. Pregnant. With Julian's baby. My mind raced, frantically searching for an escape route, a logical explanation for this impossible scenario. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not to me. Not when I was so careful, so responsible. With Noah it was always protection. Always. And yet it was a cruel twist of fate, a cosmic joke played at my expense. How could this happen to me? I was always the one in control. This was Noah's fault. If he had been exciting enough, passionate enough, I never would have sought out Julian. This baby was a physical manifestation of his failures. 2 months. 2 months I carried this secret, this growing fear, this inconvenient truth. I tried to hide the changes in my body. The morning sickness I blamed on a stomach bug. Noah, oblivious, would bring me ginger ale and bland crackers. He was so sweet, so innocent in his unknowing, and it made my resentment burn hotter. He was a constant reminder of the life I had, and the life I desperately wanted to escape. A life that was now irrevocably tangled with another man's child. I finally couldn't bear it anymore. The weight of the secret was crushing me. The morning sickness was relentless. I knew I had to tell him. Not because I felt guilty, but because I needed a solution. I needed him to fix this. One evening after a particularly silent dinner, as Noah was meticulously sorting mail on the kitchen island, I walked up to him. My hands were shaking. "Noah," I started, my voice barely a whisper. "We need to talk. About something really important." He looked up, his mild eyes curious. "Of course, Maya. What is it?" I took a deep breath and the words tumbled out, rushed and desperate. I cheated on you. At the festival. With Julian. And I'm pregnant." It's his. The silence that followed was deafening, crushing. Noah's face went utterly blank. The mail slipped from his fingers, scattering across the polished countertop. His eyes, usually so placid, filled with a raw, agonizing pain I'd never seen before. He simply stared at me, unblinking. You what?" he finally whispered, his voice hoarse, barely audible. "I said I cheated," I repeated, my voice growing stronger, a touch of defiance returning. "And I'm pregnant. It was a mistake, Noah. A moment of weakness. You were never here. You were always busy, always tired. I felt neglected. I was just trying to feel alive again. You pushed me away." Tears streamed down my face, genuine tears of fear, panic, and overwhelming self-pity. This was the ultimate injustice, being caught like this, having to face the consequences. He just stood there, staring at me for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly a deep sigh escaped him. He ran a hand over his face. "Okay, Maya," he said, his voice strangely calm, strangely flat. "Okay. I forgive you." My heart leaped. Forgiveness? Just like that? He was so predictable, so easily placated. A wave of relief washed over me, quickly followed by a familiar surge of annoyance. He was so weak, so easily manipulated. "But the baby," he continued, his voice still unervingly calm. "You need to abort it. I can't raise another man's child. Especially not after this. It wouldn't be fair to me. Or to the baby. It wouldn't be fair to us." He looked at me, his eyes now cold and resolute. "You were so careful with us always. Always insisted on protection. This was your choice. This is your consequence. You need to take care of this." My relief vanished, replaced by a fresh wave of shock and indignation. Abort? He was telling me to abort? This was his forgiveness? This was his quiet revenge, his twisted punishment. "But Noah," I cried, "it's my body. It's a life. You can't just tell me to do that. That's not fair. That's cruel." "No, Maya," he interrupted, his voice steel. "What's cruel is bringing a child into a life that started with a lie, into a relationship broken by betrayal. This isn't fair to any of us. This is the only way forward. For both of us. For me." He was unwavering, cold, determined. The meek accountant I knew was gone, replaced by a stranger. I argued, I pleaded, I cried, but he simply stared at me with those blank, resolute eyes. He wouldn't budge. He would only accept my decision to terminate the pregnancy as a condition of his forgiveness, and our continued relationship. Felt like extortion. It felt like he was ripping a part of me away, punishing me for his own shortcomings. So I went. 2 weeks later. Alone. The clinic was sterile, cold. The procedure was quick, efficient, devoid of emotion. Just like Noah. I felt numb. Empty. He had taken away my joy, my freedom, and now this. He had stripped me bare. I came home in a daze. The apartment key felt heavy in my hand. The quiet hum of the building seemed to mock me. I opened the door. And stopped. The apartment was empty. Completely, utterly empty. My breath hitched. The furniture was gone. My clothes were gone. All of Noah's things were gone. The exposed brick walls, the city view. They were still there. But everything else was a vast, echoing void. It was cleaner than I had ever seen it. All that remained were faint outlines on the walls where pictures used to hang. Dust bunnies in the corners. My phone started buzzing. An email. From Noah. Subject. Regarding our agreement. The email was short, formal, emotionless. Maya, as per our conversation, and your subsequent decision, I have moved out. I have changed the locks. I have instructed my lawyer to begin dissolving our shared tenancy agreement. All communication will now go through them. I wish you well. Below that, a separate section. I have also blocked your number, your social media accounts, and your email address. I need a complete break. Do not attempt to contact me. My world shattered. He didn't just leave. He disappeared. Systematically. Precisely. Just like he handled his accounts. All the careful planning, all the meticulous execution. He had used my confession, my mistake, and my ultimate act of obedience as the final piece of his exit strategy. He hadn't forgiven me. He had used me. He had waited. He had orchestrated this entire cruel, devastating act of revenge, all while I thought I was simply navigating a difficult situation. Now I'm here, alone, in an empty apartment, surrounded by the echoes of a life that was never truly mine, never truly fulfilling. Julian has stopped answering my calls. Chloe barely responds to texts, her messages polite but distant. Everyone has scattered. It's not fair. I was just trying to be happy. I was the victim of his neglect, his emotional absence, his dullness. I was just reacting, trying to find my own joy, my own fulfillment. And he, the quiet, unassuming accountant, turned into this cold, calculating monster who systematically dismantled my life, left me alone and pregnant, then forced me to make an impossible choice, only to abandon me. I was manipulated. I was used. I was wronged. And now I'm paying for it. It's truly, utterly unjust. And I'm left to wonder, how did I, Maya, the vibrant, authentic woman, end up so utterly alone and wronged by the universe?